Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with something that is incredibly cool because for quite some time I have had many requests for reviews of more Ricsan Custom Toys figures. I did review 2 of them here on the channel and they were quite popular. People really seem to like them, so I've gone ahead and got a hold of a few more to check out with you guys. And first of all, the very first figure we are going to check out is one of my favorite kaiju of all time. It is Varan the Unbelievable, and this figure is definitely one of the figures that they've released that was like on the top of my list. I really wanted to get this one in hand because there just really aren't any other figures like this out there. You know, we have some Bandai stuff, but it's not nearly as articulated as you find with the Ricsan Custom Toys figures. You can see the box art here is pretty much the usual from them. They usually have these really cool, basically very plain boxes, but then you have a nice shot here, a very cool image of Varan, and then down here some logos and such down here. You can see not really a whole lot going on the sides. Once you come to the top, you can again see the different shot of Varan, and then you can see again the unbelievable Kaiju, because that's the name that they've given to Varan here. And you can see collect them all, and again over here not really much, but then on the back you can see now 26 points of articulation, as well as quite a few different angles of the figure, which looks really cool. And there is also the Ricsan Custom Toys QR code right there if you'd like to scan that. But let's go ahead, pop this box open, pull our figure out, and check it out. So contained within, we actually have some super cool Ricsan Custom Toys stickers, basically showing off some of the different figures that are in their line, and they look incredible. Like, look at that photography right there. I assume down here is the person that did the photography, but that Varan shot right there looks so legit. It really does look like it's from the film. And then same deal, honestly, over here again with our baby Godzilla, and you can see again that shot is fantastic. Really cool having that stuff included. But then here is our Varan himself, and you can see he looks absolutely awesome. Let's readjust the camera slightly, just a hair to go up. And there we go. We can now see the figure out of the packaging, looking super cool. I'm so hyped for this. I love Varan. I'm so happy to see him in a figure form like this. Again, kind of, you know, NECA, Haya, SH Monster Art style with all of the articulation is basically what is so cool about the Ricsan Custom Toys figures. And you can see on top of having Varan, we also actually have the statue over here depicting Varan as well, which is really cool. So actually, I think we'll just go ahead and start with our closer look with that. And you can see again when we get nice and close, this is the statue that you actually see in the film, and I think they did a great job of replicating that. No coloration for this. This is basically just the coloration, of course, of the 3D print, but it looks super cool, and you could just paint it yourself, considering there's not really a whole lot of color on that statue. I don't think it would take a whole lot to really paint this out, but you can see it looks incredibly cool from every vantage point, really replicating the look of that statue perfectly, and helping to just add a little bit more fun to the set. I like that Ricsan Custom Toys does this quite often, where they include extras and stuff like this. Like with the Stan Winston Godzilla, they included the head of the griffin. That's so cool. I just love those little additions. But then when we bring in our epic Varan, you can see Varan looks absolutely awesome here. The sculpt is really well done, really quite highly detailed. You can see all sorts of scale detail all throughout the face of Varan, which looks really cool. You can see all of those spikes all over his head, and they all have that genuine sharp look to them, which is a plus. These figures are also packed really safely in the packaging. I can say that straight out of the gate. I'm definitely happy to see how nicely packaged they are, so providing them with a safe trip to you. And you can see he's got all sorts of spikes moving down along the back, and none of them are damaged that I can see at all. So that's a huge plus, and shows you again how good the actual packaging packaging is for these figures. But you can also see the eyes painted in there with a white, given a black pupil. We do have an articulated jaw. Of course, we have tons of articulation. Once you look inside the mouth there, you can kind of see the tongue and stuff in there painted with a pinkish tone, it looks like, or a purplish tone, like a light purple maybe. We can see all of the teeth as we move around the inside of the mouth of Varan. They are all sculpted individually, painted individually. They look really cool, and everything about this honestly just has that man in a suit sort of a look. Like, on top of replicating the overall design of Varan very nicely, they've also somehow managed to kind of capture that look and feel of the man in the suit perfectly as well. As you begin to move down along the back of Varan, you can see all sorts of really bumpy, sort of osteoderm-like scales moving along the back of the head and neck back here. We can also see that these spikes on the top of the head of Varan, there we go, are painted with a light gray, which definitely helps to differentiate them a little bit from the rest of the body. And then as you move down here, these ones are painted with the brown, which is like the primary brown of the body color. You do have a lighter tone, though, that moves down along the underside of the throat, down into the underbelly and everything, the underside of the chest and everything. As we move down, we do, of course, have a few spots of articulation. You've got one spot right here, and you can kind of twist that and move it up and down. Now, these are wire articulation or string articulation. I'm not really sure how you would term that, but that type of articulation, kind of like the same stuff that Jurassic Justin most of the time uses, is very handy when it comes to having a lot of articulation. And you can see you've got another spot right here and then another spot right here. And those spots of articulation, if we push them back just a little bit, allow some very impressive posability, like extremely impressive posability, much more impressive than you get with most figures like this. And again, it'll allow you to pretty much put Varan's head and neck into any position that you would like and look really cool. Definitely really quite natural on top of everything. So love the articulation straight out of the gate of the figure. As you move down along the back of the body, you can see a reddish tone, kind of like a reddish brown pickup. And then as you move down a little bit further, it definitely has more of a reddish tone, almost even more of like a maroon sort of a tone to it. You can also see the extremely bumpy skin texture here moving along the back of Varan. We can see more of those spikes following along the spinal column leading down. And then if we come around to the front, you can now see the very nice looking skin texture of the underside of the chest and underbelly, as well as, again, it's kind of like a greenish brown sort of a tone that they have applied down here. And the transition between those colors is really quite smooth as well, which is a plus. You do, of course, have arm articulation, which can go forward and back, basically swivels and out away from the body, so you can pretty much capture any and every angle you would like to display the arm at. You also have elbow articulation forward and back, and again can swivel, so even more articulation. And you actually seem to, yep, you have a little bit right there on the other side of the elbow as well. And then as you move down, you also have wrist articulation, which you can see can go forward and back and also swivel, again allowing you to pretty much pose the arm any and every way you would want, which is absolutely fantastic. If you are into stop motion, these figures are a dream come true. I would say they are most similar as far as the amount of articulation you can get out of them to SH Monster Arts, because they have like a lot of mobility with their figures, and the Ricsan Custom Toys figures do as well. You can also see again that the sculpting of the arm looks really good. We've got nice muscle definition moving down, nice skin texture as well, and then as you lead down, the hands look really nice. You've got the nails painted out with a light tone, and they as well have a nice genuine sharp look to them, which is really cool. You can even see the palms of the hands. No doubt that the Ricsan Custom Toys figures are extremely highly detailed. As we continue to move down, you do have articulation in the midsection, so you can completely move that again around, kind of like swivel it, and then you can also go up higher If you want to make him more upright, if you want to kind of hunch him over, you can do that as well. Again, lots of articulation in these figures. As we continue to move down, you still see that reddish tone following along the back, more of the spikes leading off of the back of Varan. And then as we continue to lead down, we still have that, same type of skin texture that we see up there on the top part of the back, in the lower back as well. As we lead down here into the leg, you can see some muscle definition in the thigh. You can also see the skin texture looking quite nice. We have a calf muscle, but it's not quite as big and bulging as you see when it comes to the musculature of the thigh right there. But of course, you do have more articulation. You can go forward and back with the legs. You can also come out away from the body if you want to move them out that way. So again, really nice there. You can move the knee forward and back and also swivel. And then you've also got ankle articulation as well, which is really cool. And you can swivel that as well. So again, basically capturing any and every pose that you could possibly want. As you move down through the leg, you can see the coloration looks quite nice, again with the dark brownish tones of Varan. You can also see more of the lighter tones, kind of like those light greens, moving along the inner thigh right there. As you lead down, you again have the toes sculpted quite nicely. We also have the nails painted again with that same light tone, kind of like an off-white down here, or even a light yellow down there for the nails. And then we lead out into the tail, and as you lead out into the tail, you can see we have quite a few joints of articulation moving out. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 joints of articulation moving out through the length of the tail. We can also see the skin texture looks nice down here. A bit of a different look and style compared to what you see up there in the back. So obviously switching it up when it comes to the skin texture leading down. And you can see more kind of like spikes moving along the back of the tail as well. And again, they're so small and so thin, they're very fragile looking, but they actually don't seem too fragile. They seem really quite impressive when it comes to the quality. And then you can obviously articulate the tail pretty much any and every way you want, which is a huge plus. Again, left and right. You can also go up and then down, so tons more articulation even in that area. And if you move along the underside, you do see that light greenish tone lead out into the tail, starts to taper off about 3/4 of the way through the tail. And then you can obviously see the opposing side, which is going to be exactly the same as the first side, because articulation wise, paint wise, everything is going to be the same on both sides. But that is an absolutely awesome figure, and I'm so happy to have a really cool Varan. And as you can see, the figure stands really nicely, and you can see it's actually like the tail's up off the ground and everything, even though you could very easily pose Varan in that kind of tripod pose and use the tail as balance. You don't necessarily need to. It stands completely fine on its own, even with the tail up off the ground. As far as a size goes, for a height, you are looking at to the top of, I knocked him back now, to the top of that spike, about 6.5 inches or around 26.5 centimeters. And then for a length, I'm not really sure what the best way would be to kind of get a length. Maybe if we actually put Varan on all fours. Now I guess we have to readjust the camera because he's a whole lot lower than he was. But you do see Varan on all fours quite a bit in the film, so we'll go ahead and get a measurement here. You're looking at right around 9 and like a little hair under 9.25 inches, or a little bit over 23 centimeters, heading toward 23.5, but not quite there. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Varan the Unbelievable from Ricsan Custom Toys, and you can see that the figure is definitely very nicely sized, pretty much in the standard size range I would expect it to be in when it comes to these type figures. And to further show you that, there is our fantastic Varan going face to face with the Hiya Toys Godzilla. This is the King of the Monsters version of Godzilla from Hiya Toys, and you can see obviously the Hiya Toys Godzilla is a little bit bigger, but that is generally a pretty large figure, so I'm not surprised by that. We've also got a comparison next to a standard SH Monster Arts Godzilla, in fact the only SH Monster Arts Godzilla I have, and you can see again that the Ricsan Custom Toys Varan is pretty much face to face with Godzilla here, and it looks super cool to see these two kind of facing off next to each other. And then just in case you happen to have the Bandai Varan, here is a size comparison with that figure next to our Ricsan Custom Toys version of Varan. We've also got a NECA Godzilla here, which you can see again next to the Ricsan Custom Toys Varan is pretty much the same size overall. As well as a Playmates Godzilla, which you can see as well is pretty much the same size as Varan. And the final comparison I have is with that Stan Winston version of the Godzilla, which you can see here is, again, pretty much the same size as Varan as well. And it's also just generally really fun to be able to see more of the Ricsan Custom Toys figures here next to each other. So this Ricsan Custom Toys super articulated Varan is absolutely fantastic and definitely a figure I am so happy to have in my collection. I'm loving the fact that I have been getting the opportunity to really expand my Kaiju collection as of late with all of the super cool Hiya Toys releases, and I've been able to get again the SH Monster Arts Godzilla as well as some other Bandais and Playmates and stuff like that. Just tons of really cool stuff, and now more from Ricsan Custom Toys, which is maybe one of the coolest things of all because they make so many super cool Kaiju that nobody else is taking a chance on, and I love that about them. I love the fact that rather than going with your traditional Kaiju, they seem to kind of look into more of the, I don't know if I'd say obscure, but less fortunate when it comes to figures. And again, Varan is exactly that. One of the coolest Kaiju in my opinion of all time, definitely one of the most fun designs overall. I've always been a huge fan of Varan, definitely one of my, I would say, top 3 favorite Kaiju ever, and his sculpt here is fantastic. I feel like it replicates Varan really nicely overall, and especially when it comes to all of the spikes moving through his body. I think they look so nice on this figure, considering, again, this is a 3D printed figure. It's very high quality, and you can see that just in general, again, looking at the spines moving along the back and how solid and high quality that area is as well. It's just very, very impressive. But the sculpt overall is extremely highly detailed, beautifully created, and again, they've added so much articulation to this figure, making it an absolute dream come true, giving you, again, countless posability options, pretty much allowing you to display it any and every way you could possibly want. And you also have some nice paintwork through the course of the figure, I think, pretty decently replicating the overall look and feel of Varan as well, which is definitely a huge plus. And then on top of that, you've also got a very cool statue. Again, the statue depicting Varan, which is really cool to have included. Ricsan Custom Toys always going all out to make sure that you get a complete and total package with each and every figure release. So if you are interested in grabbing this, I will include a link in the description to where you can check out Ricsan Custom Toys on Instagram, where you can contact them there and inquire further about purchasing one of these incredible figures. And I will also, of course, include their email address down below as well in the description. So if you do not have social media, you can contact them through email to inquire further about purchasing. One way or another, I highly recommend this figure. So if you are interested, definitely pick it up and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.